What if I told you the future of fashion isn't just about trends? It's about tech and that talks back. Fabrics that heal and system that disputes the entire economic as we know it. Today on the Piyush Pawar show, we are not just talking style, we are talking smart fashion, curricular economics, and visionary leadership with a man has been shaping the industry for over 4 decades. Samuel Alexander is a TEDx speaker, founder of C2C Fashion and Technology, a Forbes-featured innovator, the mind behind powered fashion ecosystems, and a pioneer with a 40 years of experience in merging tech and sustainability and fashion. Think you have seen the future. You're about to meet a guy who is designing it. Sam, it's a real privilege to have you on the show. How's everything going on your end?
Well, thank you for having me here. I really appreciate the opportunity. We're having a great day here in Austin, Texas. As you know, we are the Silicon Hills of the U.S. California, Silicon Valley, we're Silicon Hills. So we
Yeah.
have quite a tech industry here in Austin, Texas.
All right. So let's begin, Sam, to the podcast. So you came up from a diorite in the 60s and 70s. What was going on around you have made you think I'm gonna break out of this?
Actually, I started out my career, I was going into real estate and I was going to start be a real estate developer. And I was approached by Levi Strauss when I was in college to go to work for them in San Francisco. So I ended up leaving college and going to work and going to school at their school in San Francisco. And it was probably the best thing that I did because what I learned there was from the raw materials to the end of the life cycle of a product, which is something that very few people understand about any industry, not just the fashion industry. Most people are educated on just one segment of an industry versus the whole complete cycle. And what we're dealing with now is a world that you have to understand the complete cycle of any industry because one piece of it won't do you any good. And we're also moving into Web3 technology, which I'm sure you're familiar with over there. Because you guys already are ahead of the most people out here in the rest of the world because they're still trying to figure out Web 1, let's know Web 3. So you understand that everything is going to tokenization and we're moving into autonomous technology. And what my goal has been is to develop smart factories, smart networks, and smart products for the smart cities. And what we're doing now is with chips and different fibers, we're creating new fabrics and new technologies. But we're also focused in on sustainability for the life cycle of a product. So what I built is a platform that actually can monitor from the raw materials to the end of the life cycle of a product, and then we're tied in carbon credits to the back of that. So we're working for the whole cycle of any product out there. I also am on the advisory committee for IPC, and we should release the standards, the global standards for all smart products here within the next year. So you'll have standards that you'll be able to use. What we'll do with that is we'll use
Right.
AI agents to be able to help you with anything that you need as far as the standards for either countries or for any products that you have. We'll have those standards built into AI agents for you.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Cool. So you have been doing this for 40 years. So why do you
Right.
burn out like most people?
Well, for the 40 years, I got to share with you, when we started with computer science, I was using punch cards, which you probably don't know what that is. And I've seen the generation go through the life cycle of technology from the punch cards to the floppy disks, where we had to back up everything on huge floppy disks at one point. Then we finally got to a cassette, and then we ended up with hard drives. So I've seen the life cycle of the history of the technology for a lot of years in my lifetime. And so I've also been able to move ahead of the system. The problem with most people right now is that they're chasing the ball. Instead of going to where the ball is going to, they're
Yeah.
chasing the ball, and they chase the buzzwords of that time, like they chased metaverse, they chased NFTs, and now everybody's chasing AI. AI has been around for over 60 years.
Right.
Generative AI has just come into play, but we had bots before this for the last probably 20 years now, and the bots have been in everybody's AI has been in everyone's life. They just didn't know it was there. Now all of a sudden they're aware of it's there. They're afraid of it. They're thinking it's going to make them all rich quick, and they've got all kinds of false ideas about AI. But AI is just another tool. It's like giving someone a backhoe, a tractor when they were digging everything with a shovel. So now we've got a tool that can speed up production and cycles that we never had before. So it's not going to be AI take people's jobs away. It's going to be AI. The people that use AI will take people's jobs away.
Right.
So because they'll have a leverage over the ones that don't understand the new technologies. But what the problem is, not everyone's not paying attention to IoT, Internet of Things. Everything
Right.
that can be connected will be connected. My partner in Italy wrote a book called 4.0, and when he first introduced that concept to me, I didn't get it for a minute because I was probably like everyone else. I was trying to make things work the way it used to work. This world is the largest paradigm shift that you've ever seen in the history of the world that we're going through now. And only the people that can understand where the ball is going to will survive this because the technology ball is moving so fast that if you're chasing it, you'll never catch up to it. So you have
Right.
to go to where it's
True.
going to.
Right.
Yeah.
So, did you have that moment where you say, damn, maybe this gonna work out?
I think that what we're going to move to is a higher level of intelligence because basically people have been brainwashed into being servants to everyone else. And the word job will be known as a form of slavery at some point in the world. And people that are entrepreneurs will become the people that are the creative ones. Your creative skills are going to be more important than your robotic skills because we're going to replace a lot of the jobs with robots and AI.
What was the first moment you realized I'm not a normal? I see the world differently.
Um, I think that's been my whole life because I've been a free spirit. I mean, I grew up in the country running around in the woods with snakes and animals and all kinds of wild animals that are from the time I was able to walk. And so I pretty much have had a freedom that most people haven't had, and also seen the world from a perspective that most people haven't had an opportunity to because they were told no, no, no. I was probably never told no. It was just that you be home before the sun goes down. That was the goal in my life from my parents' viewpoint. So I had a adventurous life. I was able to experiment and go out and see things that even at a young age that most people probably never had an opportunity to because parents were afraid for them. My parents never were afraid for me. They just let me do pretty much what I wanted to do. And I've learned that I have we are created with the ability to do anything that we want to and create anything that we want to. The only thing that we have that likes keeps us from doing that is ourselves.
All right. So, was there one person who changed the entire trajectory for your life?
There's been a lot of people that have done that. As I've gone through life, there's been a lot of people that helped me through points that I didn't understand. There was also a lot of people that reached hands out to me to say, okay, Sam, let me teach you this. And so I can't say there's any one person. And I would have to say that as far as where I started at in school, I had a teacher, her name is Miss Smitty, and she was our
Yeah.
science teacher. And then I had another teacher, Mr. Mathis. He was a math teacher. And between the two of them, they forced me to learn things that I didn't want to learn, like algebra and trig and geometry. And my science teacher would force me to create products for the science fair, which I would win every year, which was contrary to what everybody thought I should do. So I was able to do a lot of things between those two people. So I would say those were the two most influential people in my life as far as making me the person that I am now. Besides my parents.
All right. Cool. So, what's something from your early days that still drives you right now?
I think the illogical way that people live their lives. I grew up in a place where people loved each other and helped each other, and they were a community. And right now, we don't have community anymore, and we don't have. Everybody wants to get rich quick, and they don't
Yeah.
understand that the
True.
headache of wealth. They're just constantly looking, how can I get rich quick? And they're not looking to work for it. They want to just get rich quick, and they don't understand that wealth is not something that you acquire. It's something you have to manage. And the headache of managing wealth is sometimes worse than wanting the wealth that you're looking for. And I think that that's probably the most powerful thing that I know is that you have to have a quality of life. And most people don't have a quality of life. They live their lives for impressing other people versus impressing themselves and having satisfaction within themselves. And I think that's where we're headed to again. I grew up in an era of the 60s and 70s, which you probably weren't even born, but it was about love, peace, and happiness. And that's the way we lived our lives for many years, and it gave us a foundation to have a quality of life. And so we built a new principle of life, and that's what we're about to go through again. Because with this paradigm shift that we're headed to, people are going to have to learn how to live in a community, and the microeconomy is going to be the only way most people will be able to survive with what we're about to go to. And the microeconomy will become more powerful than the macroeconomy because all of the logistics have been shut down for the macroeconomy. And as you can see, it's already falling apart in every country in the world.
Right. So let's move forward on fashion and tech. You are a visionary stuff in
Okay.
that stuff. So when do you first realize tech could be woven into a fashion in a meaningful way?
I will go back to Levi Strauss because what we had to learn when I went there was all the science of the STEM, which we call it STEAM now because we've added art to that phase. So it's science, technology, engineering, art, and math. And that's when you understand fashion. It's not a fashion show. Most of the people that get into fashion think it's a fashion show. But as far as adding technology to it, we've always been in the forefront of adding technology. I worked with Levi Strauss when we were adding all kinds of new dyeing processes, uh, weaving processes, and integration of fibers into fibers. So I learned that part of the technology of the fabrics and of the marketing part of it because we use a lot of technology in our marketing. Then as far as the part where integrating chips and products in, I've had people come to me that were, what I do, people bring their ideas to me and I take their ideas from concept all the way through the consumption aspect of it. We have technology that we can do that with. And I have relationships with different factories throughout the world that where we need specific areas. I have that ability to do that. So it gave me an advantage over most people as far as prototyping because most of the guys that do prototyping now they want 40, $50,000 to do a prototype that I can do for 5 to 10,000, and that gives me an advantage over the rest. Not only that, my prototyping is going to be 100% more efficient than what their prototyping was because they've got some jackleg out there telling them they can do it and charging them a lot of money, and I'm dealing directly with the resources. I cut out all the middleman between you and so what they're doing is multiple segments of middleman that you're paying to get the same thing that you can come to me. And most of the time, those guys that you pay come to me to get the work done because they don't have the access to it. They're just marketing it to you. And I see a lot of people out there right now that are offering marketing skills that have no expertise at all in what they're talking and telling you that they have expertise on. They're just charging you a lot of money so you think you're getting something.
What was the dumbest thing people used to tell you about your ideas?
The dumbest thing,
Yeah.
probably the biggest thing that I get is that you're negative. You're scaring me. You're giving me a headache.
Oh,
Because when I share with them concepts and ideas, it's so far off of what their ability to comprehend that it scares them. It makes them afraid because they realize how far behind that they are. And and the reality of the situation that I'm dealing with them is I'm not even sharing the things that I could be with them because I know that they don't have the capacity to really understand it.
okay.
So
So,
as far as I don't look at people as being dumb. I just look at them as being unknowledgeable and not willing to open their minds up to have a perspective that's beyond the negative or positive perspectives that they have.
all right. So, do you design more like an artist or a hacker or a strategist?
I'm not really the creative part of any of these projects. People bring their creative ideas to me, and I'm the one that brings it to reality. So as far as my creative skills, I don't really have those skills to initiate an idea or a concept. As far as the with products, I can take an idea and take it to reality and tell them what they need to correct on it and to be able to bring it into a usable product. But as far as me coming up with new products and new ideas, that's not my position to do that. There's too many creative people out there that are much more creative than I am. I just have skills to be able to bring their ideas to reality.
Okay, all right. So, what was the fashion tech trend you think is totally BS right now?
I think AI is being overplayed. It's like the buzzword, and AI has been around for over 60 years, generative AI has just become available to people because we had bots and now you have agents. The difference between the bots and the agents is the bots we had guardrails and we told the AI what to respond and how to respond. With generative AI now, you have no guardrails. It basically has the ability to be able to take knowledge and be able to regurgitate that knowledge to you based on what it's learned. So it's a different type of AI that we're dealing with now. So I think that that's the biggest part of the hype now is AI. And as I said earlier, you got to be thinking IoT and autonomous technology now because we're moving away from large processing into processing the data at the point of collection. That's why you see the driverless cars that are actually, we have them here in Austin. You look up and there's cars driving by you that have no drivers in them. That's autonomous technology. It means it's processing the data at the point of collection. And that's a lot of your AI agents that are working within that autonomous technology. So a lot of people have to understand that the hype that they're on right now with chat GTP, that's in the playground of what's really going on out there with autonomous technology.
All right. So if AI fully takes over a design, what happens to our creativity?
AI will never take over. AI will only be a tool, as I said earlier. It's like having a tractor when you had a axe or a pick to be able to dig in the ground. It's going to be a tool that creative people use to move things faster and more efficiently ahead. What you're moving to now with AI and robotics is zero marginal cost of goods. The more we use AI and more robotics, it'll take the price of goods down to zero cost. Think about when your parents used to have a camcorder, a tape recorder, a phone, in the house, all the different instruments they have. Now you've got one instrument that does all that, and you can take a picture and send it around the world in seconds. This is zero marginal cost of goods that we're moving to. So we're about to go into a different paradigm. Okay, and
All
this
right.
paradigm that we're moving to, most people can't imagine because it's so far out of their perspectives that they're used to dealing with, and also what they're being educated to. That's going to be the biggest problem that we have going forward. Is our education systems are not giving people the education to be able to move into the creative jobs that are coming available now.
All right. So let's move forward on our futuristic questions. Like in 10 years, do you think we'll be wearing a clothes made by AI in the metaverse more than a
No,
real world?
I don't believe that the metaverse will ever exist because what you're moving to is multiple dimensions, and AR is more important than MR. I mean, than than the metaverse. Your AR technology, which is basically taking the virtual reality, is going to be overlaid into the real world, into the real world in multiple dimensions. And when you go from VR to AR, MR, XR to HoloLens, and we're already at the HoloLens level where we're doing interactive holograms now.
All right. What do you think about the generation alpha fashion will look like? Do they even care about the style the way we do?
The fast fashion is basically it's at a point to where it, quick money goes quick. Okay, and so they made a lot of quick money, but now with logistics the way that they are, with raw materials the way they are, and with the consumer moving to the direction that they're moving to, which is a quality of life, you're going to see people buy higher quality products with utilitarian properties versus fast fashion. So, like Paragamo, whatever the company's called, that does the utilitarian products, that's where the market is headed to. People will pay more but buy less. So it's pretty much over with. Not to mention, most of your laws are changing, like in Europe and in the U.S., that you're going to have to show the life cycle of a product for sustainability, and that's going to be a hard thing for those guys with the fast fashion.
All right. So, would you launch a fashion line on a Mars if SpaceX gave you the green light?
Well, number one, we moved away from your perspective, and I'm going to hit you with that because what you just get is a good example of the perspective that people have that they have to go away from. We've built factories here in the U.S. already. I have two of them built that we can do customization on demand. I can customize your product exactly to your needs and have it to you in 5 days to your house. So we can do made to measure and on demand customization now with our factories here. So the days of mass production are over with for us here because people are going to buy less. Number one, the economy is dictating that.
Can you if you had to wear one outfit for the rest of your life, so what will it be?
One outfit,
Yeah, like if you had to wear one outfit for the rest of your life, so what would it be?
I still don't understand your question. I apologize. One
So
outfit, one idea for my life.
no, no. If you had to wear one outfit for the rest of your life, one outfit for the rest of your life, so what would it be?
When you say outfit, are you speaking of clothing or are you talking about lifestyle? What are we talking about?
Yeah, like overall, like clothing, fashion, like outfit, major like outfit, I'm asking you.
And that's what I was telling you earlier. We're doing utilitarian products. We're doing all types of fibers that we're incorporating into the clothing to help you with a quality of life. So there's really no one outfit that I could give you that would be for the rest of my life because all we're looking at is giving people a quality of life. And our objective is preventive medicine. We want to be able to do analytics with AI to be able to tell you what's going to go wrong with you before it happens and also give you fibers that will help you with a quality of life. One of the fibers that we have that we've launched is a carbon fiber, and the carbon fiber is incorporated into the clothing. We take the heat from your body, and that turns it into far infrared, and it reduces your cortisol level and increases your nitric oxide level. We also have fibers that do heating and cooling, adjusting the temperatures. We have all kinds of sensors that we can pretty much monitor any of your body metrics. So there's a lot of things that we're doing that probably most people don't realize are being done with smart products.
All right. So, what does the fashion version look like when a Neuralink looks like to you?
The next version of fashion will all be utilitarian and based on, as I said, a quality of life. The whole fast fashion idea will vanish, and your whole deal will be sustainability. You're going to see recycling become the biggest part of the fashion industry because the quality of the fabrics and clothing that were made in the past, you will never be able to afford those qualities or get that kind of craftsmanship. What people don't realize is the person that made that product is really the artist. They're the ones that created the product, and the rest of the people just had the idea. And those type of artists that can create those kind of products, it's over with in this world. The skill sets are disappearing. So you're going to see that the older products are going to become more valuable.
All right. So, you have ever sit back and go, yo, actually build this shit from nothing?
I built the ship from nothing.
Yeah. Like
Repeat.
you ever sit back and go, yo, I actually build this shit from nothing?
Yeah, I'm not trying to fix the industry. I'm going to bypass it completely and create another industry. The industry that I'm focused in on is projected by the year 2030, I'm sorry, 2028 to be a $150 billion industry. It's already a $35 billion industry, and it's going to increase to 150 billion. The clothing industry, I could care less about them. As far as the products that we'll create, will be utilitarian products that will fit into people's quality of life, and they'll buy one piece because of the utility that it has for their lifestyle.
All right. So, like, what's your craziest, no one's will believe this happened story in the your industry?
The previous what?
My question is, what's your craziest, no one's will believe this happened story in your industry?
The craziest story
Yeah, in
or
your
moment
industry.
in the industry for?
In your industry, in the fashion.
I've seen so many. Yeah, this has been a lifestyle of craziness. So I really couldn't give you one instance that was the craziest, but I can tell you stories and that you can imagine from driving around in vans in the middle of China with and not knowing nowhere, couldn't even pronounce the cities that I were in, going into factories that I have to stand out by the dryers to stay warm, eating stuff off of Lazy Susie's that I couldn't even tell you what I was eating. I could go through and tell you stories and stories and stories of all over that are just crazy. Going to fortresses that had automatic weapons and people protecting us because that's how bad the communities were that we were in. I mean, it's I could go on and on with stories. So I mean, after 40 years of doing this, there's been a lot of crazy experiences in the fashion industry.
Have been on Forbes, TEDx, media outlets. So how do you stay grounded through all the spotlight?
Oh, I've been all my life uh, in the spotlight, so it's something. And I also pick and choose who I will work with. There's a lot of media that I won't work with because of their inability to understand that when I do one of these interviews, like I'm doing for you, it's to spread
How was
knowledge
your
to people so they can
experience?
change their viewpoints.
How was your experience?
It's just, I mean, it was great. I have no problems. TEDx was probably the most intense thing that I've ever done because of the lighting systems that they use there with
Yeah.
all the spotlights and the lasers and everything. You got to walk out there and stand on the X, and you got to find the X with all those lights going off, and you can't see the audience at all. You're just looking at light spotlights coming at you from there, and you standing there, you speaking this to lighting, and that's it. So that was probably the craziest experience I've had. As far as the other interviews, are basically the way you and I are interviewing right now. Most of the time, they'll give me a script beforehand so that we can kind of have an idea of what they're going to ask me, and that way I can answer the questions for them as we go along.
So
And as far as with
can you little bit more about like how
go
do
ahead.
you get on a TEDx stage? How was the process? Can you let us know to our audience?
Every I have and I have a lot of different media that comes to me like you have and basically want me to be able to expand on the ideas that I present in my marketing because if you'll notice all my marketing is about creating a perspective for people that they don't have, so that's what they want me to do and that's why they keep coming at me, but I turn down probably 70% of the interviews that are requested of me. But someone like you, who I know is starting out and getting building a rapport, I want to do everything I can to help guys like you because you're the voice that I need out there that's going to bring newness versus the old ideas because they don't have a clue as to what this world is about to change into.
So you ever
Okay.
feel like the media gets you story wrong?
No, most of the time, they let me approve it before they put it into press. So if it's anything that needs to be changed, I can change it, or and we can make agreements to change it. So that's the agreement that I have with them up front. And then, like with when I'm doing a podcast like you're doing, then I have the ability to say what I want to say and how I want to say it. So with the other guys, if they're dictating and telling me what I have to do and how to do it, then it's not something I want to do an interview for because they have an agenda, and the agenda should be to give people information.
All right. So we have a good question to ask you. What do you want to say your grandkids to say about what you did in what did you do with your life?
That I made this a better place for everyone. I want them to be able to say that I was able to help with the sustainability. And we have our industry is probably the second largest polluter behind the petrochemical industry, and we produce 8% of 10% of the carbon for the whole world. We do 20% of the water waste, and then 80% of the products that we produce end up in a landfill. That's $2.2 trillion a year worth of products that we're making that end up in landfills. That's a lot of waste. We're going to run out of raw materials here shortly. So that should be everyone's concern. That's why we have to start recycling and conserving how we use our raw materials.
All right. So let's move forward on your business mistakes you have done. So what's one decisions you made that nearly cost you everything? Is there any was
Yeah,
experience you have
getting
like?
get, getting married. I've had two divorces and I've lost pretty much everything in both divorces. So that's probably the thing that I will never do is get married again.
All right. If you could go back to your 20s with all current situation or like all current wisdom, what would you go different?
I don't think that that's a question that I could answer with any proficiency because right now as we go through these change of eras, every time everything you deal with is going to be different from the way it is or perspective that we had now. And I think that so far in my life that I've had a quality of life that most people couldn't imagine because I was willing to go out and challenge the world versus become a part of it. When I went into the corporate world, I became a part of the corporate world, and I got to a point to where I said I'm not going to be able to do this anymore, and that's when I started my own company. And I think that most people, if anything, that I would tell my kids or anyone else,
Yeah.
like, is to always work for yourself. Don't work for anyone else. So I think that I've done that in my life, and so I can't really say I would change anything. It's been a bumpy road making those choices to do that because in every business it's going to be an up and a down, and I've gone up and down multiple times in business, and I think though that gives you a resilience though to know that you can go up and down. And I think that all people should go out and do what they need to do to learn how to adjust to the changes that you need to make. And to go back and say that I would change anything, you know, other than not getting married, that would be the only thing I would change.
All
But then
right.
I wouldn't have my children, so that would be a bad thing too.
Good. Awesome. So, what's the best piece of advice of a business advice nobody talks about?
That need to go stay away from venture capital. Venture capital is a trap, and anybody that jumps into venture capital have to realize that they don't win. If you were going to do venture capital, then you should have just went to work for someone because you became now you're working for free. And all these people, the problem with most people is they think they're going to get rich quick. They've got this vision of getting rich quick, and less than 1% ever win from those situations. And when you get into that position that you're compromising yourself for money, the worst thing you can do. You don't you don't work for money. You make money work for you. And the problem is most people are too busy and too greedy to realize that it takes time and knowledge to make money work for you.
All right. So, what do most startup founders get wrong about innovation?
The problem with most startup founders is they're limited in their exposure to the real world as far as business goes, and so they have a vision, but they don't have a business plan. And when I say have a business plan, a realistic plan on how they're going to accomplish the things they need to do, and that first million is probably the hardest million to get, and unless you know what you're doing up front, but you'll run into all kinds of headaches and roadblocks because you think that spending money is the way that you get there, and it's not as creative. It's being able not to spend the money and to make that money turn for you. Any money that you have, you should be able to turn it 3 to 5 times a year. So if you take $1 million worth of investment capital, that $1 million should be $3 to 5 million by the time you end the year. But most of those kids run out of money and have to come back and look for money because they don't have a roadmap. One of the problems I have with most inventors, is they come in and they tell you they need $1 million, and then they don't have a roadmap on how to go to make that money return money. So get in their car, put some gas in it, and they drive around without a map until they run out of gas, and then they come back looking for some more money. And that's what you see with most of these young inventors. They constantly running out of gas.
All right. So, you have been a part of you have experienced the San Francisco and Silicon Valley. What do you think about it? Because already you have experienced that.
I've never really worked in Silicon Valley. I've worked here in Austin, and we call it Silicon Hills here because we don't have the mountains. We have hill country. I think that the biggest problem that I see is adoption of how to get people to really understand your idea and how to get them to change to be able to adjust to the changes that they need to for your idea to become successful. And a lot of people get lucky because they start at the ground level of an idea with people that they can understand it, but it doesn't last long because things are changing so fast. The generation gap used to be 20 years for a company, then it went to 10 and went to 5. Right now, every 90 days is a generation gap for a company. So you've got to be looking at where the ball is going to, not where it's at. And you got to constantly be reinventing yourself. And that's the problem that I see with most young entrepreneurs is they don't know how to reinvent themselves. And that's a constant job now.
All right. So, what would you say for the what would you say to the next generation of distributors?
Well, use the technology to your advantage, and also quit looking at getting rich quick, and take the knowledge that you have and make it work for you, instead of working for someone else for it. And then also look at what you're doing for societies. Okay, how will this make society a better place, not just make me more money? And I think that's the problem that most people have, and they're going to have to move away from that, because if you're not showing a social good, you're not going to be successful in business going forward.
All right. So, do you feel like you have already made your masterpiece, or is it still coming?
Do I feel like I made the audience what now? Say it again.
My question is do you feel like you have already made your masterpiece, or is it still coming?
Okay, you cut out the voice cut out on the book. Go ahead, say it again.
Do you feel like you have already made your masterpiece, or is still coming on?
I think that every day you have the ability to evolve, and I've constantly evolved and continue to try to do a better job of what I do. And as far as the mark, I've always been the best at what I do. So I've got a history of that throughout my history of any kind of business, that I've been the best at whatever it was that I was doing. And that's national, international, and being able to pull the pieces together to really enjoy what I do, to be honest with you.
Okay. All right. So, what's next for Sam Alexander that nobody sees coming yet?
Um, right now, what I've been doing is really working to develop the micro economy that you're going to need to sustain yourself within the new world paradigm that we're headed to. You're about to see the largest shift that you've ever seen in the history world. It's already happening, but the problem is most people are in denial of the reality of the situation. And what you're seeing is not something that's bad or good, it's a change. And so I have made the adjustments and prepared myself for the change that's coming, and we're building microsystems. And when you say microsystems, my product that we built is a global product, but it's built for the microeconomy. And the microeconomies are going to become more powerful than the macro economies because they can't sustain themselves. They've blown up the balloon so big that it's about to pop, and they're not agile enough to make the transition they're going to need to move forward. So I feel like I've prepared myself, and that's what I'm ready for. And this will be the last part of my life. This is my last quarter. I mean, one of my nephews, I'll share this with you, asked, he said, Unc, I'm 25. I got a quarter in. I said, yeah, Unc's on this last quarter here. So I'm on my last quarter of life, and I want to make sure that I leave something that everyone will value going forward and give everyone a better quality of life. I could care less about making a lot of money because I know the headaches of a lot of money. I just want a quality of life that which I have now. And one of the things I'll share with you that my father told me, and I'll pass it on to you. He said, always live a quality of life that no matter what happens to you, you'll be able to continue to live that quality of life.
All right. So, Sam, from a Deorite hustle to global fashion tech distributor, this convey was a fucking masterclass in vision, resilience, and doing what most people are too scared to even dream of. If you're still listening, do one thing for yourself, rewatch this episode twice or thrice. There's game in here that hits all different when are you in your life. So make sure to follow Sam everywhere. This man is building the future, and you are gonna want to front row seats. So, and if this episode made you think, made you laugh, or made you want to chase your own legacy, share it to someone who's got ambition in their blood. Hit like and drop a comment and tag that one friend who needs this energy. This was the Piyush Pawar show, and I will catch you the next time with another mind-blending guest who's rewriting the game. Peace, love, legacy. All right, stay tuned.